This is John from Damn Best Racing Fuel Systems. Here is my third of my 6 patents. It finishes off in number 210B2. This is what I understand to be what they call a continuation in part. And I'm still amazed after this many years. Most of these are 20-ish years old. how little sense some of it makes. It starts off with a diagram of the gas turbine nozzle, which is in front of you. Now it's going through the prior arts, antique carburetors and some of the stuff that's listed in my 251 and 253 patents, so I'm not going to review those. This particular patent seems to be on our E-Jet. So as it's scrolling through, in case somebody else hadn't seen some of the prior art from the previous 2 patents, you'll begin to get close to figure 11, which is the current prior art on fuel injection, which is individual injectors going to whether it be in cylinder or the cylinder head or the manifold, but individually to each cylinder. And that is the figure number 11. That will be coming up shortly. And then the different possibilities for the E-Jet, which is taking the carburetor and configuring replacement of the float ball and the jets on the metering blocks with the electronic injectors, which are supplying fuel to the position where the jet is at the same rate that our carburetors can supply. But here, the electronically, you're really negating all possible G-force issues, including literally flying upside down or having an updraft carburetor, because then you're going to be only delivering fuel at the rate, and I say as consumption, but as you program it to be. Sometimes you want it to be a little richer, sometimes you want to be a little leaner, depending on its transients. The figure in front of you now is the figure 11, which is the prior art to conventional fuel injection. And these are the silly kind of pictures that they ask you to put in patents. The next drawing seems to be where they're splitting the fuel delivery from the E-jets and injectors. In some cases, in the transients, there might be time where splitting the fuel delivery is the best choice. And when you're doing patents, you try to include everything on the entire planet, whether you use it or not, so that it, for the expense of the patents, in case some system, some subpart of a system you make keeps a competitor from having a parallel system using some parts of your own. It's just a really odd thing you have to do, is make sure patents cover everything that you can conceive of. The next diagram is once again a split system between the E-jet and an intake manifold rather than direct injection. And as I just said, that you have to try to conclude every possible thing. What we've learned from practical experience, the best performing fuel delivery system is the E-jet standalone, because of the amount of shearing going on in the carburetor itself. I'd like to say there's more excitement in doing patents than there is. There's an amazing amount of homework that has to be done. They're not cheap. I don't know what the current cost of one is. Now it's $2026. But in the early 2000s, they were about $60,000 a piece. And when I see people out in the performance world and they haven't made the investment to protect their technologies, because they thought it was worthy of protecting, then I'm always curious if they're just followers. You know, Dan Best is a leader. We're not interested in following. The next few figures are in the previous patent descriptions, so I'm not going to review them here. If you go back and you look at 251 or 253, you'll be able to review the actual emulsion in the patents. I just review some of the pictures. It's necessary when you're writing the claims. The diagram that's in front of you now actually shows the repositioned Venturi and how it's been divided up. Prior art is at the top on the right hand side, then the Venturi being above the booster. Then we also have it as a hat, so if you have a conventional carburetor and you put a hat on it, you can reposition the Venturi that way. So once again, in patents, you try to cover everything that's possible so someone doesn't come in after you. Anything you can think of, you try to cover in the patent. This next diagram is a kind of a stick figure of what a hat would look like, having to go on top of a carburetor and reposition the Venturi. The pictures don't have to be all that perfect in the patent. It's just got to be a descriptive picture, and that's what this does. It goes on top, and the pieces, as the picture did before, go into the Venturis, and they reposition the Venturi above the booster, which makes it, especially if the carburetor is too big and you're trying to reduce it and gives more airspeed around the booster, it's certainly a great idea. We're actually going to start marketing some of those. This diagram is another picture of, in case the carburetor area happened to be really big, like a restrictor plate, and you're going to reach all the way down with the hat, so it would cover that rendition as well. As I said before, you try to cover everything you can. For the amount of money you're spending, you might as well get the best coverage you can. The next few minutes are going to be just the claims and the legalese for this particular patent. I'm not going to try to read them to you. If you have interest, you can pause it and read it, and then go back and look at the diagrams and find out particularly what they're trying to describe within the legalese of the patent. It's almost, it's like a college level paper, and I can't say that the legalese and stuff for that particularly interested to do or to read, but it's all necessary to understand. These are what they call teaching documents. What I found out from going through the process is that we're teaching somebody how to use this, and by the nature of that, we get a certain number of years of protection, based on your ability to defend people that are infringing, mostly Chinese, believe it or not. I'm sure you do. I used to go to the PRI show and see Chinese vendors there selling, knockoffs of what they thought my carburetors were like, and it was just laughable. I could get them to pull it off the shelf while I was there, and the patents also protect me against somebody making them, but the term I don't remember at the moment, but you're not allowed to own this science either. So if they sell it to you and you purchase it, you're also at legal risk. So I'm just going to let the legalese scroll through this. Once again, this is John Satterfield from DAM Machine Shop Inc., home of Dan Best Racing Carburetor. You can email me at info1@danbest.com. The shop phone number is 845-546-2646. You can find us in Facebook as well, and I hope you're having a great day. Thank you.